Hello, and welcome to Moments in Credit Union History, brought to you by CUNA Mutual. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome to the show Bill Herring. Bill has been a credit union CEO for over 50 years, has been part of the movement probably from the day he was born. Of course, Bill's mother was the famous Loiuse Herring, who is considered the mother of credit unions in the United States. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the show today, Bill, and to hear a little bit of your stories about your mother. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be able to spend a few moments with the American Credit Union Museum to share some memories about Loiuse. The American Credit Union Museum does a great job of preserving and making real the history of credit unions, and that's where history can be such an inspiration. It can give us perspective, and it certainly helps us with our decision-making process. So thank you, American Credit Union Museum. Loiuse was born on a small farm in central Ohio. She had a normal kind of a childhood, brother and some sisters, hard work on the farm. But she had one of those transformational moments when she was 14. Her father awoke the family, took them down to the bridge that led to the farm, and there was a cross was burning. And the father said, "This is the work of the Ku Klux Klan, and they're trying to intimidate the McCarran family because of their religion." This incident is one of those transformational moments that had an impact on Loiuse. Loiuse then went to work, worked her way through the University of Cincinnati. She graduated with a degree in commercial engineering, and after college went to work for the Kroger Company in the personnel area. There she saw the plight of the working men and women. They saw where they were dissipating their disposable income through the high cost of credit and the high cost of fees, that they did not have access to legitimate financial services. And when they needed the loan, they had to go to the bucket shop. She saw where the interest rates at the bucket shop were determined basically by the borrower's need and the lender's greed. So she read about the credit union idea back east and began corresponding with Roy Bergegren. The credit unions called for a meeting in Estes Park, Colorado, and she asked the Kroger Company if she could be their representative to the meeting. They said, okay, but you have to pay your own expenses. So as a 25-year-old single woman, Loiuse got on the train in Cincinnati, took it to Chicago, then got on the train in Chicago, the credit union train, to Estes Park, Colorado. When she identified herself on that second leg of the train trip, Mr. Bergegren was quite incensed that the great Kroger Company would send such a young whippersnapper to such an important meeting. Mr. Feline kind of smoothed things over, and as Mr. Feline and Loiuse were chatting, he told her that, "Loiuse, we're both minorities. I'm Jewish and you're Catholic. And the only way a minority can survive is in a political democracy. And the only way a political democracy can survive if it's buttressed by an economic democracy. The people that produce the goods have to be able to consume the goods. And the credit unions are an important part of ensuring that economic democracy in our system." Loiuse then went and left Estes Park, and then she helped found the Ohio Credit Union League and became its first managing director. And her job was to organize credit unions. And it was quite an adventure. She was preaching a very radical idea. She was preaching that men and women, working men and women, were basically honest. Working people were honest. There were brains and overhauls. They could and should manage their own economic situation. She organized around 500 credit unions in her pursuit on a very small budget. A lot of times she went from town to town and slept in her car. She would get to organize a credit union. She would get to the plant maybe early in the morning when the third shift was leaving and the first shift was coming on. She would a lot of times was not allowed on the company property because of the word union was not acceptable to the company. So she would organize outside the company gates. One day she was organizing a credit union with a large group of men, and a big storm came on the horizon. And they all, she said, well, maybe I can come back or we can finish this. And they would not let her leave. They wanted the credit union organized that day. Now, they knew the importance of that credit union. So they said, we're all going to go in the men's locker room and we're going to finish organizing this credit union. So Loiuse would, they organized a credit union in the men's locker room. Loiuse would go anywhere, anytime to organize a credit union. Another instance late one afternoon, as she would drive from town to town to organize credit union, she left the town. And as she was driving out of town, she was thinking about credit unions and ran a red light. So she was pulled over by the police, and she told the police, I don't have any money. They said, well, then you're going to have to follow us to the police station. So she followed them to the police station. The police, as she was sitting around the potbelly stove, she was explaining why, as a young woman, she was out in the early evenings by herself driving her car. And she talked about her, what she was doing. She talked about the credit union ideas. She talked about what a credit union is, the power of the credit union, the members owning their own and controlling their own economic destiny and owning their own institution. And they became so engrossed. She noticed that as the officers were coming on and off shifts and walking around, they were throwing money into a hat. So they told her, he said, Loiuse, we will pay your fine and get you on your way if you promise to come back and organize a credit union. And she did. She came back, and that's how the municipal credit union was organized in that particular town. So you can see that there were some quite challenges. Loiuse knew that folks that know the least and have the least pay the most. And Loiuse was a firm believer in the dignity of every individual, regardless of their economic or social status. That they all had dreams. Everyone has a dream, and they have a right to try to achieve their dreams. And she believed the credit union can enhance the quality of life for the members in the community and also help their members achieve their dreams. So that's really what drove Loiuse a lot. As the managing director of the Ohio Credit Union League, she helped pass an Ohio state law so that they would have state chartered credit unions, organize a department, and train some examiners. When she left the league to raise a family, she had 5 children. She continued to go to chapter meetings and give talks, but she was raising a family. One day the examiners called and said they had a problem at a particular newspaper credit union, and could she help them? Loiuse was the type that she could walk in and smell the problem, analyze the problem, and get it corrected. So she corrected the problem, and while still raising a family, continued to manage this newspaper credit union. She continued to run the CYO program, continued to coach the girls kickball team, continued to coach the knot-hole baseball team, and set up a great book society through the public library. So she was quite driven, and again, to how can people achieve their dignity and achieve their dreams. So at the newspaper, the printing presses were very loud, and the newspaper hired primarily hearing impaired employees to be the pressman of the newspaper. There was one particular pressman that did not have a formal high school education, and he was hearing impaired, but his dream was for his children to get a college education, something that he never had, but that was his particular dream. And Loiuse worked with him, paycheck to paycheck, through the years, teaching him to pay yourself first, save for a reason, And he did, and to live on a budget. And sometimes he had to be the stern one, but this particular gentleman achieved his dream. His his children received a college education. And one day I got a call that said that your mother had a heart attack and she's on her way to the hospital. So I got to the hospital and they said that Loiuse needs open heart surgery. So they set her up, and when the thoracic surgeon walked in, he said, I know this woman. That's the credit union lady that helped my dad and me achieve our dreams of a college and a medical degree. So he performed open heart surgery on her. You can see where sometimes dreams come full circle. It was quite something that all that dreams and that hard work resulted in her having a successful open heart surgery. So I know that I would like to just kind of share with you one of her quotes that kind of drove her and motivated me a lot. And she would always say, be ashamed to die until you won a victory for humanity. So I appreciate the opportunity to share a few thoughts about Loiuse. There's many stories and many adventures that she had as starting out as a single woman, and she had the wit and the charm and the tenacity of a 5 foot tall Irish woman that was very determined. So
I think she was a super mom before the word existed. For sure. She was a super mom before the word even existed.
she she did a lot. She was really helped her sisters. She was just really the matriarch of her family and her generation, and very tough but very loving, and knew that what we needed to do, especially in those days, to achieve our dreams was um, to work together and respect each other and help each other. And the credit union was a perfect vehicle for this.
That's incredible. I sit here, Bill, and I hear you tell the stories of Loiuse, and I can't help but just smile and be filled with inspiration and pride that, somebody that just cared about this movement so much made so much happen. And I think probably our viewers are going to be sitting at their computer screens smiling too. And I'm sure that these stories are going to inspire others. So thank you for sharing
I
with
hope
us.
so. I mean, wasn't easy at times. She was, she felt like she had to wear a rosary around her neck at the public square in Cleveland because of teaching that the working people are honest and there's brains and overhauls. But and that's, I think that's the inspiration it gives us, that we believe and we will pursue our beliefs, and we know what the credit union movement can do for our communities and our members and the dreams that we all have. So she was special.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing this moment in credit union history with us, Bill.
Uh,
This has been another episode brought to you by CUNY Mutual.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thanks.